Hey folks, back again with another vlog as promised. This is Season 1, Episode 20 of Galaxy, Gravity Falls, the season finale. And the last episode of it I'll be doing, unless, after the second season ends, people pick it for me to watch again. This was a good finale. A lot of action, a large scope. I like that. I mean, effectively, this and the previous episode were a two-parter, and I like that the first part went in and really delved deep into Stan, while this second part went out to the point that we almost left Gravity Falls. I'm amused that the town of Gravity Falls, apparently the town border is 10 miles from wherever it was they caught the bus. Or more, depending on how long they were on the bus before they passed that sign. That's a big town, isn't it? I am not aware of many small towns that are 10 miles across. Maybe it's one of those things where, like, in some states, any land that nobody lives on is just treated as being part of the nearest town, as opposed to being, like, part of the county but not assigned to any specific town. I know that's how it works in some states. Maybe that's how it works in Oregon, right? Gravity Falls is in Oregon? I don't know. Either way, yeah, this was a good finale. That's one too many goods. This was a good finale. Gideon has been the primary recurring villain all season, and now he's off to jail right after having introduced someone much more powerful who promised to return. I suspect that Gideon was kind of the introductory villain. And now, I'm sure he'll be back at least once, either escaping from jail or being released because he's so cute or whatever. I loved the callback to the gnomes in the first episode. I think it was the first episode. That one bathing in squirrels. They're so weird and so much fun. But I also love that Gideon just turned the tables on them instantly. The giant robot was cool, and I liked that Gideon controlled it with Waldos, because that is literally the only reason to ever build a robot in the shape of a human. Humans are a terrible shape. Let me take it back. It's the only reason to ever build a giant robot in the shape of a human. Humans are a terrible shape for a giant structure. But if you're using Waldos to pilot it, if you're not familiar, a Waldo is a device that causes a machine to mimic the motions of the person wearing the Waldo. So that suit that Gideon was wearing, which looked quite a lot like the suit actors wear for motion captures, which I thought was cute, because that would be one way of doing, one way of doing Waldo-type controls is to wear one of those motion capture suits, and the computer, instead of animating a character based on the motions of the white balls, which is what the computer is doing when you do motion captures, tracking the motions of those white balls covering the suit and translating that into the motions of points on a wireframe model of a character. And then as those points move, the model moves, mimicking the person. Instead, have those points correspond to key points in the, joints, the structure of the robot, and the computer moves the robot. it was nice. Also, the robot is an animated character, so motion capture is a description of what it's doing. But I liked that. That was just, I mean, it was just a cool robot. Giant robots are cool, and Waldos are, literally, like I was saying, literally the only reason to have a human-shaped giant robot is that it's easier and more natural for somebody with using Waldos to control. Otherwise, if you're just gonna like pilot it with, a big wheel or levers or buttons or whatever, the human shape is way too easy to tip over. You should go with something lower that has more legs. Basically, giant robots should all be shaped like spiders, or insects or whatever. That said, the episode was fun. It was exciting. It was a cool adventure. Not much to talk about in an analytical sense, which has kind of been the problem with this whole show, is... I mean, it's not a problem. Entertaining shows are entertaining. Like, right now, I'm watching the heck out of The Flash, and having a blast with it. And it has no ambitions whatsoever to do anything but entertain its audience. And then, sort of its sister show, Supergirl, I'm also enjoying, and while that does have a distinct political message it's trying to get across, it's very much, feminism 101, and it's being very, very straightforward and blatant with that, which, just looking around our society, you can tell, okay, yeah, there's a need for a show that does that, because... Frankly, if you get more complicated or more subtle, you're going to lose half the audience because they're still struggling to comprehend and accept the 101 level. So those are two shows that I'm enjoying that there's basically no analysis to do. One, because it has no aspirations to be something to be analyzed. It just wants to amuse you for 45 minutes. An hour if you're watching it in a format that has commercials. And the other because it's telling you straight up what it's saying. Gravity Falls is more like The Flash in that sense. It's not got any particular viewpoint. It's not like, say, Steven Universe, which is, it's not a message show in the sense of, the Roddenberry's Fables episodes of original Star Trek that had a clear and obvious moral, or episodes of Supergirl or something like that. But it does have a very particular worldview, including on things that are politically controversial, and it doesn't shy away from just depicting that worldview. Stuff like Garnet. It's very matter-of-fact about it, it's very straightforward about it. It doesn't either try to drive it as a distinct message, nor does it, shy away from depicting it. It's just something that's part of it. There's nothing like that in Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is just a simple story about fairly standard family dynamic kind of stuff and coming-of-age stuff. And it's got a bit of a supernatural twist to it, some conspiracy-ish stuff going on, and that's all fun. It's an enjoyable show. I think if I had watched it before Steven Universe, I would have a higher opinion of it, which is not saying that I have a low opinion of it at all. It's just that Steven Universe has permanently raised my expectations for what cartoons can do. It's really kind of as simple as that. It is not the first time that has happened. DuckTales did that when I was a kid. DuckTales is the reason I did not quit watching cartoons when I was 8 years old, because I was getting really bored of them. They were getting repetitive and uninteresting, and they looked terrible. And then DuckTales came out of nowhere and was amazing. It happened again a few years later with Batman the Animated Series, and around the same time, Pinky and the Brain. And then it happened again with Avatar: The Last Airbender. And now it's happened again with Steven Universe. Had I watched Gravity Falls before it, I would have been like, this is great. This is, doing great stuff with cartoon format. It's bringing in elements of stuff that previously has been mostly only seen in live action or in anime. Not so much in Western cartoons, but man, basically, it's hard to imagine any show I could have started watching coming straight off of the Steven Universe Season 1 finale. Anything I watched after that would have suffered by comparison. And Gravity Falls just got hit with that. It's still a good show. I think the other thing is the things that it's doing are not, it's probably a very good, slowly doling out conspiracy, encouraging speculation in the audience, that kind of thing. But, because I'm watching way after original broadcast, I can't participate in any of those kinds of conversations because they'll just spoil everything. And it's not really something I get that into to begin with. It's not really what excites me in a show. So it's honestly just not for me. And the fact that it entertained me as much as it did, and I have to say, I liked this show. I am glad I watched this show. The fact that that's true, even though all these other things I'm saying, that's very much to the show's credit. Mabel is in my pantheon now of, the characters I really love. Which actually, I've kind of meandered away from talking about this episode to talk about the show in general, but that's kind of the nature of finales. But I do, getting back to the episode, I am flabbergasted that they left Waddles behind. How did Mabel allow that to happen, especially after the events of 2 episodes ago? I get that it gave Mabel a motivation to stay and help, but... And I guess it just shows how deep into despair they got that Mabel was willing to leave town and leave Waddles behind. I mean, wow. But still pretty good. It was a good show. The reveal that... the minute they established that there was some kind of a blueprint, immediately... it was already clear that Stan had Journal 1. They're, given 3 journals, and Gideon has one and Dipper has one, Stan is the only other person who has any real connection to the conspiracy. So he had to be the one who had it. I'm actually surprised that it seems that there were only 3 journals. I was guessing from the fact that the hand on the cover has 6 fingers, there are actually 6 journals, but I guess not. And Stan appears to have used it to open some kind of a portal. I guess that's what the machine does. Dipper described it as some kind of a super weapon. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's a portal. I think it's a gateway to somewhere. Somewhere that Stan wants to go. Yeah, the end of the episode said, trust no one. But we already know that's not true. We saw in this episode that that's not true. Dipper and Mabel can trust each other. They can trust Seuss. And you know what? He demonstrated in this episode they can trust Stan. He saved the day. They all got to save the day. Seuss got to save everyone when he put them up at his grandmother's house. Stan saved everyone when he revealed Gideon's, camera plot. Dipper saved the day by punching a giant robot in the face. And yeah, I did catch that. 2 episodes after Stan punched something in the face that nobody believed he would punch in the face, we get Dipper punching a robot in the face. Well played. And in between we get an episode saying Dipper reminds Stan of a young Stan. Yep. And Mabel saved the day with the grappling hook, which obviously she would, because the running gag necessitated that. So it was a well-structured episode. Everybody got to do their thing. And we got the reveal at the end that Stan is opening some kind of a portal. I'm curious where the portal goes. I have a guess. My guess is that the author of the journal built the portal, because why else does the journal contain the blueprints for the portal? He built the portal and went somewhere. And either Stan knows where he went and there's something valuable there that Stan wants, or Stan wants the author of the journals and is going after him. And he needed the 3 journals to, he had the machine that creates the portal, but he didn't know, what the settings were or something like that, and he needed the 3 journals to get those, because that seemed to be what was happening there at the end. Still curious about the 6-fingered hand and what it means. I mean, presumably, at least some of this is answered in Season 2, which, once it's finished, I am definitely putting that in the vote rotation. It's not quite as high a priority as Gravity... I keep doing this. It's not quite as high of a priority as Steven Universe Season 2, but it definitely is something I want to come back to and vlog again. So, yeah, this was good, solid show. I think it's the weakest of the 3 shows that I have done full season vlogs of, but that's not saying much, because it was up against Korra Season 4 and Steven Universe Season 1. And those are 2 of the best and most important American cartoons of the last decade. So, the fact that Gravity Falls is merely a good show, it's a good show. It just followed up on things that overshadowed it. But that doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, going back to that analogy, I'm still watching and enjoying The Flash, even if it's not anything other than entertainment. And Gravity Falls in that same category, that's the basic thing that TV should be, right? That's the most important thing. Everything else follows. It has to be good TV first. And Gravity Falls is good TV. So, yeah. This was a good run. Thank you all for accompanying me through it. Thank you to all the backers who helped, fund me as I did this. Thank you to the people who suggested and voted for this, and the people who suggested and voted for everything else, you know. Thank you for participating. And I'll be back, if you're watching this on the Patreon, I'll be back next month, because I'm recording this in advance, even by Patreon terms. I will be back next first weekend of December with a recording of a panel that I did at I think Kineticon is the next panel I have lined up is one from Kineticon back in July, and then we'll be following with whatever you guys voted for. If you're watching this on YouTube, the panel video will be next week, and the week after that will be whatever was selected. So again, thanks everyone who backed, thanks everyone who watched. It's been a blast, and I'll be back soon with something else. Bye.